We kind of lovingly call this group of customers, Roger and Rhonda rebate. In their minds, they're conflating rebates and incentives and tax credits together, but they are looking for a way to get something done and to shave some of the cost off the top of it. Marketing and making aware of the existence of this tax credit can help you bring more people into your sales funnel.
This is the one and only, the original podcast where you can find yours and your business's true value. You're listening to Our Value.
Brought to you by America's insulation source, IDI Distributors.
You want to hear from the best contractors, suppliers, and consultants that dedicate themselves to more than just survival in the business world?
Industry professionals that are dedicated to excellence in every aspect of their business?
Our Value has them all here to share that same motivation and knowledge with you. Tune in and grow a more successful, profitable, educated, and recognized business. Listen to the Our Value podcast to become the industry leader in your market. Find your value with Our Value.
Welcome all of you out there in insulation land. This is the Our Value podcast, except this is a public service announcement. Yes, this is outside our normal programming. We wanted to come talk to you about something that's been released. It is a website, it is free marketing, it's all kinds of stuff that somebody else made for you. And so I wanted to talk to you about what 25C means business is. Actually, I'm going to talk today with Peter Troast of Energy Circle Marketing. And it's really because they have put something together that you guys need to know about. Peter, I remember you talking to me about the 25C last year and us talking about how few contractors are using it. I know few, if any, of mine were, and you were seeing the same. Can you talk about why and how conversations like that got spun up into a website and a bunch of free marketing resources and collateral and stuff like that?
Yes. Well, thank you, Ken. Thank you for having me. Look, I think that part of the reason that we are where we are is that, as most folks know, the 25C tax credit has existed for a long time. Prior to the IRA, with the exception of one little blip during 2009 and 2010, it's really been pretty meaningless, right? It had a $500 lifetime cap, and everybody just sort of dismissed it, right? For good reason. It just, the juice was not worth the squeeze. And what happened in the IRA is that the tax credit was changed, so it now can be $1,200 a year, 30% of the job, $1,200 a year. I'm sure we'll talk about some of the details. And most importantly, I think, it can be used year after year after year after year. So you can do a job and help your homeowner take a $1,200 tax credit, in 2024, and you can do it in 25 and 26 and 27 if you have ongoing jobs that are in the eligible category. So it is really, a significant change in what existed prior to IRA. And I think one of the challenges and one of the issues on the table is that when you say the words Inflation Reduction Act or IRA, everybody thinks about these rebate programs that are, for the most part, still not in the market, right? So I think we often kind of confuse the what exists, and this 25C tax credit is in full effect now. It was in full effect all of last year, and it can be utilized. And so this program, which really, it's important to say, comes to the community via the incredible generosity of NAMA, the North American Insulation Manufacturers Association, that has, put their weight behind this, has funded the program to enable these free resources to be available to any insulation contractor. No litmus test as to what kind of insulation you sell. Anybody that's doing insulation work, and obviously it's going to orient towards people who are in that retrofit market. This program is available thanks to their incredible generosity. The other thing that I would say, and you alluded to this, Ken, is that there has been some confusion, right? There are some sort of points about this tax credit that have confused folks. What is eligible, and this exclusion for the labor that goes in, and some other kinds of, just relatively simple question marks that understandably have caused folks to sort of pause a little bit and say, wait a minute, that's maybe just too complicated. The beauty of this is that NAMA has come forward through the Insulation Institute, their consumer-facing arm, and really sort of answered these questions in a definitive way with the full backing of NAMA and the Insulation Institute, and vetting by their corporate counsel to give contractors a clear sense of, this is just follow these rules, use it, do this, and you shouldn't have any issues with your customers.
So with that in mind, because, I was looking at when and how NAMA got into this, but why do you think NAMA supported this? Did they give you any reason behind that? I know for you and I, we were like, hey, anything to get people using it. But what got NAMA involved?
Well, I think it's, NAMA, as I think everybody knows, represents the largest manufacturers of insulation in the country, if not the world, primarily the fiberglass industry. And I think the primary reason is that they are seeing at their sales level that the tax credit, having been in effect now for, a year and 7 months, is not moving the needle. And so it's pretty clear that it just, for reasons that aren't 100% clear, it hasn't received the uptake. We compare it back to the 2009, 2010, and in that period of time, it had a temporary increase up to $1,500 a year, but that was also a lifetime cap. So it wasn't nearly as good, but in that era, 14 million jobs got done utilizing that tax credit. And we just aren't seeing the same level of uptick now, even though it's slightly less money on an annual basis. But the fact that you can use it year after year after year for jobs should mean that it's getting utilized more. And that just doesn't seem to be the case. So that's the primary reason. I think there's, real credit to NAMA for, seeing and listening to the contractor community, expressing some of this confusion and sort of lack of understanding of a few things that is understandable, right? When you start wading into the tax law and tax credit and advise, having to talk to customers about taxes, there is an understandable reticence on the part of contractors, and they've observed this and have come forward to really use the clout and authority that they have as the sort of the Insulation Institute, saying, like, this doesn't have to be that complicated. This is how it works.
I like that. And I noticed, your homeowner marketing kit, we're talking landing pages, blog articles, infographics, even, stickers for your trucks, website stuff. I guess my thing is, did they help you design this, or did you speak to contractors or industry leaders? I know we talked, but what did you learn, and who helped design all this?
Yeah, so thank you for asking. So first of all, just to be clear to everyone listening, part of this program, which, as Ken said, is called the 25C Means Business program, there is an enormous library of free assets and resources that are available to contractors that decide to sign up for the program. It is 100% free. So I just want to be really clear about this. There is an enormous library of materials. There is hands-on support from our team at Energy Circle, thanks to the generosity of NAMA. All a contractor has to do is go to 25cmeansbusiness.org, sign up, and then we will begin the onboarding process of supporting them in whatever way they need to be helped. As you said, this entire thing started with us surveying a pretty broad spectrum of contractors, asking them, what do you need? Where are the points of confusion? Where can we be the most helpful? What are the kinds of things that will be the most useful to you in a way that will really make a meaningful difference in your business? And so this library of materials, starts with web content. So, we will get you a landing page, professionally designed in whatever web platform, your site happens to be hosted on. We will get you that page. This is an important thing for, everyone to understand is that the impact that the tax credit can have sort of follows lots of different levels of the sales funnel. And there is a group of customers out there that, that are motivated by the existence of either a tax credit or a rebate or something. In other words, there are people out there that will take action because they know this thing exists and they want to make sure that they don't miss out and they take advantage of it. We kind of lovingly call this, group of customers, Roger and Rhonda rebate, right? And in their minds, they're conflating rebates and incentives and tax credits together, but they are looking for a way to get something done and to shave some of the cost off the top of it. And so there is that audience out there, and the marketing and making aware of the existence of this tax credit can help you bring more people into your sales funnel. This will help make the phone ring when you can communicate to people, this is out there, we understand it, we will help you design, first of all, a project that is the right answer to fix whatever issues are going on in your particular house. And we will ensure that you can maximize the tax credit. So at that top of the funnel, we've got, web landing pages. We've got Facebook campaigns that are ready to go and will be branded for the contractor. We've got Google display ads that are ready to go, again, branded for the particular contractor. We've got all kinds of, materials and fact sheets and so forth to alleviate some of this confusion. So it's no longer, the contractor that has to say, well, let me tell you about the interpretation of the tax code here. This is the, authoritative entity of the Insulation Institute on paper saying this is it, right? And you can simply hand that over to your customer. So there's lots there. We also recognize that part of the value of the 25C tax credit is, at that point farther down the funnel where you may have quoted the job, you're sensing some amount of price objection, and you need a little sweetener to get the job across the line, right? And this is the beautiful thing, right? Whether you decide to use it, right off the bat in your sales process, or you wait for that price objection and say, Mrs. Jones, were you aware of the fact that you could take, $1,200 off your taxes as part of this job? That kind of thing sweetens the pot and hopefully gets people across the line. I also think, Ken, that this is an important differentiator for contractors, right? Not everybody in your competitive set is going to be aware of this, and this is a way for you to kind of really stand out, both from a marketing standpoint, getting the phone to ring, and also just in what that customer experience is as as you go through the quoting and closing process.
Cool. So you touched on something that I think is the most controversial part of the 25C. And that is, since labor is not included, there are lots of questions on how to invoice, if someone has vetted out the process of what's allowed to be included. Can you talk about that? Because nobody wants to get pinched.
Right. And I think, this is, like I said, it is understandable that people would sort of, try to understand this and kind of get wrapped up and confused, and this is where, NEMA has come forward and said this straightforwardly. Just to be clear, and this is the language that the IRS has issued on this, for purposes of figuring the credit, don't include amounts paid for the on-site preparation, assembly, or original installation of the building envelope component. So the straightforward way to interpret this is that you need to take the total job cost, subtract out the labor on site for the installation of that, result in a number that is net of the labor, and that's the amount that is eligible for the credit. NEMA, again, to their credit and generosity, is going to provide, as part of this program, a sample invoice so that you can sort of look at it and say, this is exactly what it needs to look like. And so if you do it that way, it should be pretty straightforward in terms of like, okay, this is the math, and here's the piece of paper as your final invoice to that customer that they can then pass on to their tax accountant and go forward. So that's I think the way that it is, it is done, and it is pretty straightforward.
I agree. I think that's very defensible because insulation doesn't magically show up at my shop. It doesn't magically wind up on a truck. I don't magically get free insurance or a free truck. I mean, there are so many what I would say are justifiable costs that I like
Yeah.
the idea of, say the job's 10,000, I take off 2,000 for labor directly at the job site. That leaves whatever the numbers are. I'm just throwing out arbitrary. I'm not saying that's what a job should look like. But, obviously I've heard from contractors that it's too complicated. It won't move the needle. I love what you said about that. But why do you think that, contractors who are struggling to connect with homeowners, why aren't we seeing a more widespread marketing already? I know we're talking about things that'll help them, but why do you think they're not already out there pushing it?
Well, I think that anytime you start talking about taxes, it is a, slightly complex and taboo subject to be talking to your customers about. I also think that, as I said before, that there is, whenever you say IRA, everybody immediately thinks about these big, billions of dollars of rebates in these two big rebate buckets that have taken forever to get to market. And so I think people are probably understandably a little bit jaundiced about, about when the words IRA came up. It's kind of like, we'll wait and see when there's real dollars, but missing the point that a piece of the IRA were these tax credits that have existed and been good to go for a long time. So what we discovered in all of the research and all the contractors we spoke to leading up to it was, in spite of this level of confusion, everything I just said and that you're hinting at, as long as a credible third party, and in this case, we got the very best credible third party we could possibly have hoped for, right, in the form of the Insulation Institute, giving you the guidelines. Do it this way, calculate it this way, and you are good to go. Then I think the C should part, we should all feel really good about going forward. The beauty, again, I just can't say enough about how generous NEMA has been about this. Contractors are going to get our support, right? And so we at hands-on and we will do it. So there's no cost, right, to giving it a try. We have a lot of history at Energy Circle because we've been marketing on behalf of high performance insulation contractors for 15 years. We know how much the general bucket of incentives, tax credits, rebates can move the needle as a marketing tactic. We have lots of history about this and lots of data about this. And so we're just dying to get hands-on with contractors and helping them, take a shot at this, both at generating more leads, because I think at the top of the funnel, there's an opportunity here to turn some heads of people that might not otherwise be thinking about an insulation job, but for the fact that, oh my gosh, there's this tax credit I could take advantage of. The other thing I think we're going to do at the bottom of the funnel is we're going to improve our close rates, because, just like I said before, if you hit that point where, I can't quite afford that attic job and that $1,200 bridges the gap between what that homeowner, can afford, then your close rates are going to go up.
Well, I find it, going back, something you grazed on there and 2 points ago, I find it so hard to believe that a real person onboards you to a free program. That is, it's amazing. And so talk about the concierge service package, the hands-on support. What exactly does that mean? Just walk me through what it's like for a contractor who qualifies for the package.
Good. Yeah. Thank you for asking. So just to be clear, we want to make this as easy as it can possibly be for the contractor. So if you have a marketing department and you've got, folks that are kind of doing this before you, you will still get access to all these materials. We'll pass them on to you. They're in kind of template form and you can run with it yourself. But if for most of the folks out there that don't have, an internal marketing department or some kind of an agency supporting them, on NEMA's dime, we are here to support. So it starts with a onboarding phone call. We'll go through all of the materials that have been created to support you. And we've only touched a little bit on just a few of them: web pages, email template campaigns, advertising, PowerPoint presentations, brochures. There is just an enormous array of materials, all of which have the sort of support of Insulation Institute for all the reasons we talked about, but at the same time are branded for that contractor. And we'll, on that onboarding call, make a specific plan. This is what, this is what you, of all these assets, these are the ones that you would like to take advantage of. We'll create them. We'll logo them for your branding. We will support you in whatever way is necessary. If there's need for technical support to get onto the website and create pages on a website, and all of that really is, very hands-on, full support from the team at Energy Circle, and at no cost to the contractor.
Wow. So you discussed the necessity of differentiation in your seminars, and I totally agree. How does that idea fit with the 25C means business program? Like, what do contractors stand to gain in the long run from participating other than this free stuff?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I think we are in an unprecedented kind of competitive environment now. Obviously, everyone knows the state of the economy and the kind of challenges and sort of bad mood that most homeowners are in with respect to significant expenditures. At the same time, the nature of the competitive set, is changing, and for better or worse, some of these rebate programs in the IRA have created a new sort of tier of competitors. Some of them are these tech-oriented companies that are, we're going to have a much better customer experience. We're going to handhold you through. We're going to create a plan. We're going to help you maximize these rebates. And so that's a whole nother, a whole nother category of competitors that are out there. And we've got, sadly to say, I think what I call a kind of an entrepreneurial group of contractors that are kind of, brand new companies built out of whole cloth, rebate chasing companies that are building their whole companies around that concept. And so there's a lot of competitive sort of pressure out there, more so, I think, than there has been historically. We believe very strongly that the way to sort of combat that competition is to position yourself as a different kind of contractor. You have a different kind of customer experience. The work you do is based on building science. The work you do is of a higher quality and specifically solves a real problem. But in addition to all of that, I think a piece of that customer experience is handholding your customer through this process and making sure that they are taking full advantage. And if you can be perceived as that company that understands the tax credits, you know exactly how they work, you uniquely can help them take advantage of it. That, to me, is a piece of that overall positioning as a high performance contractor. And so we feel very strongly that that's important. The other thing I would mention is that because of the ability to utilize this tax credit year after year after year, the importance of a longer term plan really rises up. So many of us know that we go into a house, we specify a scope that would be the attic and the rim joists, and and with an appropriate stack order of impact and so forth. And more often than not, that homeowner says, let's do the attic. If you're telling me that's the most important thing, let's do that now, and let's save the rim joist for next year or whatever. And so suddenly I think there is both a need for that kind of a longer term plan, right? Both a plan that really moves moves that particular building towards high performance over a period of time in accordance with what that homeowner can afford. And so that is a new thing, but that kind of planning, right? That kind of like, okay, we will help you determine, a stack order of what's most important, what we do now, what we do next year. And because that you now have this tax credit eligibility in year 2 and year 3 and year 4, it becomes ever more important. And so we are, helping folks and proving out that offering this kind of a planning process is another way to attract people into your funnel versus one of your competitors who's just going to go out there, do a quote and try to close that job.
I love that. Well, Peter, I want to thank you for this. I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. But guys, here's my close in all this. Number one, our industry organization has seen enough value and importance in this to come out and literally pay for marketing for us to go and do this. Yes, you're competing with Johnny in a truck. Yes, you're competing with someone that just got in the industry. And yes, you're competing with the people you've always competed with. But today, we face a new foe. Ghost contractors, or what I would call a website contractor, who is pretending to be, Nero Insulation Dallas or Insulation. If you know the Dallas area, they'll be under Insulation Arlington, Insulation Keller, Insulation Dallas, Insulation Southlake, and then they are trying to sell all of those leads to you because they don't do the work. They're not even in Dallas. They're probably a website, somewhere in Canada or somewhere. So, I think that what this program really does for you and why I see so much value in you jumping into the 25C means business is not only do you meet the person that onboards you, you've got someone that's going to train you in how to market in the 21st century and how to compete in your market today. You want to learn differentiation? Start here. This is kindergarten. This is first grade. They'll take you all the way to graduation if you simply jump in and use everything. So, Naima, I want to thank you. Peter, I want to thank you. All of you listening, I cannot ask you enough to go to the website, to start adding things to yours, to start developing your company and go after this rebate, but also use it as the stepping stone to take your business to the next level. Wow. Again, Ken Allison with the R-Value Podcast. We hope to hear from you next month, hear from you anytime if you have questions about insulation, our industry, products, equipment, anything. Just reach out to your local branch, reach out to any of us where we look forward to earning your business every day.